Hi everybody, welcome back to another one of our meditation video series here at the Written Word Calligraphy channel. And today we are going to be writing a Morgan Harper Nichols quote, which is, "Small progress is still progress." So typically whenever we write a quote, I'd like to use a pencil first so that I could plan out where things are going to be. And then I trace it over with ink. And especially when I'm doing meditation videos like this, or like meditation with calligraphy, I like to be able to trace over something so that I'm not planning where the nib needs to go, and I'm just focused on like relaxing stroke by stroke rather than the overall layout, because whenever you're focused on that, then your mind kind of gets a little bit on the busy side. So I start off with this pencil. So this one's just the my technical pencil, and then I'm going to write the quote right here on my Bristol sheet. So Bristol paper is what I like to use whenever when I like to be able to write really smoothly. It's not best for practice because it is definitely more on the expensive side. But if you're like, for example, doing a project and you want it to be scanned, definitely it's a good piece of paper to practice with, or to write with. And I'm going to be putting this particular one up for you to trace as well, so you can print it out on Bristol paper, or you can use the HP 32-pound paper. I'll also link it in there. That way you can get it printed and trace over if you don't want to use your own or write your own. We love Morgan Harper Nichols, MHN's beautiful quotes. They're always so like smart, and it's just good to meditate on, especially when you're like stressed and stuff, or like you want to send out some kind of encouragement. So as you create these pieces, you can also think about it that you're doing this for yourself. Like you're writing to remind yourself that even if it's just a few steps, mini steps, it's still progress. You're still moving forward, and that you shouldn't be, beating yourself up for those little steps that you're moving forward, because it's still a step forward. It takes courage to even want to move forward, and so I definitely encourage you to think about that as you go through this, that to give grace to yourself as you write. Don't be too hard on yourself. When you're meditating for writing, you're writing for yourself. This is not for somebody else. This is not for a client. And that way you can, just rest. And if it's not perfect, that's okay too, because that's part of the journey of writing, that you will make mistakes. That's the beauty of the handwritten. It's not meant to be perfect. I mean, if you need it to be perfect, you can adjust it later when you digitize your work. But for this particular one, you don't need to. I'm also using the Nico G to write for this one. I'm using our oblique pen. This is our resin pen that has an ergonomic grip with that brass tip. I really like it, especially because now I'm not too worried about the ink getting on it. And I'm using Sumi ink in this container. This is our modern inkwell with the pen rest. So now we write. So when you're meditating, you want to write extra slowly. Breathe in as you go up, and breathe out as you go down. With this letter M, you don't need to breathe that many times, but just write it extra slowly. If calligraphy is normally about 10 to 15 times slower, you can write this about 15 to 25 times slower even, especially when you have a short quote just like this. Big letter down here for the P. And with calligraphy, you don't have to write the entire letter all at once. You can stop, every now and then, example, right about here, you can pause because that was a really tall upstroke, right? So release that breath, then start again. Start. And pause. You've got long flourishes. It's okay to exhale them as well. You don't want that tension to build up because you're doing a difficult stroke. So let the nib kind of go on its own. And you want to imagine yourself with like, you can also add some music to this, by the way, as I have currently. And that way you can imagine yourself just gliding your nib on water, like a gentle wave. There's not a lot of tension in your hands. If you find that you're gripping too hard, like open and close your hands in the midst of the writing. So this is really a much slower exercise than your normal day-to-day writing, or slower than your daily calligraphy even. Every few minutes or so, aside from breathing, you can roll your shoulders back. Take a deep breath in. Out. Roll your shoulders back. One more time. You can even bend your neck a little bit to your right. You guys probably hear me talk about this a lot, but I might have to say it again. But you know, practice does make progress, even if it's little bits. And small progress is still progress. So take it easy on yourselves, you guys. Be gracious to yourself. Grace to you, my dear. Be intentional about the shapes of your letters, the technique, the spots where to lighten up. You don't have to put a ton of pressure, especially when you're meditating, because whenever you're putting a lot of pressure in, there's a lot of tension in that. So take it easy. Alright, so now the quote is finished and you can rest. You can wipe your ink off your nib a little bit before you set it down. Relax. Think about those words again. Perhaps take another sheet of paper and do it all over again. That's part of the whole meditation process. But I personally find even just taking a break like this, like 5 to 10 minutes and writing slowly, helps like open up my mind and relax my mind so that it's not so tense and like stressed, especially when, you know, there's so many things happening all at once. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this meditation video, and I'll see you guys next time.